Are you ready to get stripping? Let's go. This is a yellow, obviously, yellow table that we picked up at a thrift store for $7.99. Somewhere along the line, someone decided to paint it yellow. Must have matched something in their home, or they were trying to match the sun. Either way, we decided to get rid of this yellow paint to show you how QCS Vintage Finish Remover works on paint. QCS is not designed for paint. It's formulated to really attack those vintage finishes from roughly the 1960s and earlier, but in some cases it works great on paint too. You just have to give it a little extra time, a little more patience, but it can do the job. One big plus, or several big pluses about QCS, is it sprays on, it's easy application. The liquid is clear, almost clear, so you can really see what you're working on. It's non-flammable, it's non-hazardous, and generally you don't even have to wear gloves to work with it. We do recommend wearing gloves just because everyone's skin is different. So here we go. As you can see, after about an hour, I would say, it took to start to see these results, and we were pretty pleased with the crackling. It's always a good sign. It's so satisfying to see paint crackle up. You know that the product is working. So enjoy these shots of the crackling yellow paint. And now for the best part. Are you ready? Ah, yes. The putty knife reveal. Look at that. I love to see that. That's so satisfying to see the yellow paint just come right off and expose what's underneath. Luckily, this is a smooth wood, and there is a finish between the wood fibers and the paint. So this should come pretty clean with a little bit of time and a little bit of effort, but very good sign so far. Now we decided to take and put some paper towel on the surface, this flat tabletop surface. The reason for this is because a lot of times these surfaces get a lot more of the coating when someone is painting or finishing the item. So we said, yeah, let's try to soak a paper towel and see if that'll help to keep the area kind of damp and keep the QCS working. And this was kind of an experiment. We've tried this on other projects for various reasons and had good success, so thought, why not? Let's try it here on the paint and see if it helps achieve a good result. So we got the entire surface nice and wet and decided to leave it overnight and see what we would find the next day. So we got to the shop, came in, turned on the lights, and this is legitimate. We actually did come back the next day. This isn't just smoke and mirrors, ladies and gentlemen. This is the real deal. We let it sit overnight, and you can see it definitely worked and lifted more of the paint on all the surfaces, which was great to see. Look at that, beautiful. Nice crackling. And then the paper towel, let's take a sneak peek. Yes, look at that. Nice, you want to see that with paint. It's awesome to see, it means that you're getting there. Now we decided to go after the top and take the putty knife and go through the paint. And again, so satisfying to see it cut right through. And I wanted to mention, going back to sort of what's going on with this project. First of all, it's a very smooth wood, so there's not a lot of pores. It's not a grainy wood, so the paint really didn't get down into the pores. It really sat on the surface. The other big lifesaver in this case was that this piece still had the original finish. It was not stripped, and so the paint could not soak into the wood fibers. And that's just a little word of advice for anyone who is painting furniture after either stripping or sanding it down to raw wood, is to, before you move on to the paint, is actually do at least 1 or 2 wash coats of a shellac, a clear shellac. What that'll do is just allow the paint to bond still, but not soak into the grain and the pores of the wood or the fibers. This may not matter to you or the person that you're doing the piece for, but it will matter to people like me when I go to strip the paint, if it comes to that, because it makes it a lot easier to get it off when it's sitting on top of a clear coating and not bonded to the wood fibers. And regarding what a wash coat is, a wash coat is just, it's the term used to kind of apply a light coat of a finish to a surface. So just a really light coat, and if you do a couple of those, that should be more than enough to kind of seal the wood and prevent that bond between the paint and the wood fibers. So wash coat is just sort of a light coat, and if you do a couple of those, you should be golden. Golden, just like the color of this table that we're removing. So yeah, a couple wash coats of shellac, and then move on to your paint. Our goal with this part of the process is just to get off as much of the paint that is ready to come off. So just get it out of the way. It's not about perfection. You can get hung up if you're someone who's sort of detail oriented. You're gonna want to just like work it until you get every little bit off. Just focus on what is coming off without a lot of strain, a lot of effort. Just let it come off if it does, and if it doesn't want to, just leave it alone, because you're going to go back and apply another coat of QCS to do the final sort of cleaning on the next the remaining 20% or so of the finish and paint that remains. So just take off what's willing to come off and get it as clean as possible in that way, and just remember you're going to go back and do some more anyway. So that's what we're doing here. So sit back and relax and watch the yellow paint slowly go away. One awesome thing about this is that oftentimes stripping is just really, just very frustrating or very discouraging and labor intense. And with QCS and this process, it's actually kind of therapeutic, oddly enough. Similar to playing with some bubble wrap. It's just fun to kind of watch the paint slowly go away. So if you take your time, put on put on some music, some jazz, some rock, whatever your favorite style of music is. You can also check out our Flipstoration podcast. Got a lot of episodes on there. You can check out those conversations and just enjoy the process. Don't get stressed out. Just little by little, just take the paint off. It's very rewarding, and the cleaner you do get the project in this stripping phase, and the easier the whole project will be. So I encourage you to take your time, don't get discouraged, and just chip away at it. And little by little, you will see the piece get revealed underneath. So there you go. Enjoy. And now that the paint is pretty much gone as much as that first pass will get it, I just applied another coat of QCS to the entire surface, just like I did at the beginning. And what this is going to do is just attack that little bit of paint that's left here and there. It's also going to go after the finish that was underneath the paint and help to clean that off. So you're going to apply this, again, same as before. Allow 15 minutes, maybe up to 30. And sometimes in this case, the one coat might be enough, but if you need to apply more, then just do a second coat in the exact same way. From there, pour a little bit of the QCS into a container, cup or something like this, little Tupperware. And this is going to be for your dipping and scrubbing. For this, I'm going to use 0 grade steel wool. It is right in the middle of the steel wool family. It's the middle child. It's not super coarse, it's not super fine, it's just kind of right in the middle, medium. And this is great because it won't scratch the wood or hurt the wood. Not that the coarse would either, the coarse grade would, but this is definitely just a nice medium grade that's going to do a good job. If you have to go across the grain, not a big deal. And this is going to help you just get all of the surface scrubbed and clean and loosen up all the paint, all the finish, and allow you to just wipe it off after you're done. So go ahead and dip and scrub. Keep your steel wool wet and just keep scrubbing, and this will do a really nice job. You can see here the finish under the paint, and you can see how it's gotten gummy, sort of like a molasses or like a honey. It's kind of a thick gel. That's the original finish that was under the paint, and that comes off really easily with a putty knife as well. But we're going to jump over to this detailed edge, and for this I'm showing just a brass bristle brush. These are very inexpensive and they work great for details like this and carvings and different areas that you really kind of need to get in and clean out the nooks and crannies. That's a great option. And then also here's the single 0 steel wool again, and that works really well also to get into the details because it kind of forms and gets in there and helps to pull out whatever finish or paint is in the details and the ornate areas. One question we're asked a lot is, does QCS remove stain and the color from the wood? And the answer is pretty much no. Sometimes it will remove a little bit of the color that's in the wood, like the stains and dyes, but it would be very little. If it's in the wood, it's really in the wood, and sanding is probably your only option to get it out of the wood. But in some cases, the finish or the color you see is sitting on the surface. This could be a toned finish, meaning that it is a clear finish that pigment was added to, and slowly the color is built on top. Or it could be that the finish has aged and darkened over time. And in those cases, QCS will remove the color because it's in the finish. And you can see here, just doing a final wipe down on the surface. Well, I shouldn't say final, this is sort of the first wipe down to get the residue off that I just scrubbed and just kind of clean up the wood so it doesn't re-solidify and dry. And you can see there's some staining on the surface. There's some issues that were there prior to the painting. And you can also see that there's some yellow kind of in the pores or the little nicks and dings of the wood. And so for that, I'm just going to use this wire brush and go around. This doesn't really show it that great, but this is a great method to get paint out of nooks and crannies and pores of the wood. And here is this bottom shelf here. And again, you can see that finish just comes right off. And that's really what QCS is formulated for. It's for that vintage finish, and the finish that's under the paint on this piece is exactly the kind of finish that we talk about. It just cuts right through it, melts it down, and allows you to take it off with very little struggle. So you can see it's working beautifully. And then we do the dipping and scrubbing method. So dipping a little steel wool into some QCS and then just scrubbing the area now that I've scraped off a good amount of what was there. And this just kind of grabs and pulls off any of the remaining finish, and then from there you just take a paper towel or something and wipe it clean. I recommend sort of working smaller areas, sort of like I did here, this little shelf or the top, or just areas, because what that allows you to do is get that residue off before it has a chance to kind of dry and rebond with the wood. So here I'm just gonna work this side now too. Same deal, just walking around. And if you ever feel like you're fighting the finish off or fighting the paint off, just apply some more QCS and walk away. Don't fight it. It should come off without a ton of effort. And if you're really like fighting to pull it off, it probably just needs a little more patience than it does elbow grease.
Aware of the danger you bring to me. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And if the fall down is painful, I'm me to blame. But there's something about you, there's something keep pulling me to you. There's something no good, but I want you. There's something about you, and I can't let go. A beautiful disaster. I know I've got what's coming, but I do it all again just to feel the thrill. There's something about you, there's something keep pulling me to you. There's something no good, but I want you. There's something about you, and I can't let go.
One of the trickiest parts of this project, the way that I was doing it here, was that the particles of the yellow paint just kind of made a really big mess. They were not adhered anymore, but they were just tough to get off the surface. So it took a lot of scrubbing just to kind of get them to, come off. They were already loose, they just wouldn't, clean up very easily. So take your time and really, just invest your time into this step, because the cleaner you get it in this step, the item you're doing, the easier your sanding will be and all your future steps will be. So here we are nearing the end, and all I did was apply a final coat of QCS onto the raw wood and use that as sort of a final cleansing. So just to go around and grab any little bit of residue that's still there and just give it a good cleaning. Some people do use water as well. They'll do like a water rinse, and you can do that. We just recommend using QCS at least one more time just to get off the remaining residue, because QCS will grab it a little bit better, quite a bit better than just water would. And speaking about water, one nice thing is that QCS has no water in its formula. Most stripping agents actually do have water in the formula, and what that can do is cause pretty bad water staining if you leave the agents on the wood for too long and unsupervised. As you saw earlier, we left this piece overnight and there was no strange staining or reactions. And also, by not having water in the formula as you wipe down and work the area, you're not going to have the grain raise. That means you're not going to swell the wood fibers, which would require more sanding. We have finished pieces after stripping with QCS and being very thorough in our process. We've actually finished pieces without any sanding, and we don't recommend that. Sanding is a good thing to do, but it is something we've tried and had success with. And as this project comes to an end, we really hope you enjoyed watching the process. Be sure to like and subscribe, and if you want some QCS Vintage Finish Remover, you can get that at stripwell.com.